The United States in the mid-19th century was a nation of stark contrasts, geographically and ideologically divided. The North, with its bustling cities and burgeoning industries, stood in sharp contrast to the agrarian South, where life revolved around vast plantations and the institution of slavery. This economic disparity laid the groundwork for the tumultuous conflict that would engulf the nation. The North thrived on manufacturing, commerce, and a growing network of railroads. Factories churned out goods, creating jobs and attracting waves of immigrants seeking a better life. Cities swelled, becoming centers of innovation and intellectual ferment. In the South, life moved at a slower pace, dictated by the rhythms of the agricultural seasons. Cotton, the South's white gold, reigned supreme. Plantations relied heavily on enslaved African Americans for labor. This system of forced labor underpinned the South's economy and shaped its social hierarchy. Southern society revolved around a planter aristocracy, a small but powerful elite who controlled vast tracts of land and the lives of their enslaved workers. The chasm between these two regions, one embracing progress and industry, the other clinging to tradition and the institution of slavery, grew wider with each passing year. The issue of slavery was not merely an abstract moral debate but a deeply divisive force that permeated every aspect of American life. As the nation expanded westward, the question of whether slavery should be allowed in new territories ignited fierce political battles. Each new state admitted to the Union tipped the balance of power in Congress, either towards slave states or free states. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 attempted to maintain this delicate balance by admitting Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state. However, the fragile peace brokered by the Missouri Compromise crumbled under the weight of westward expansion. The Mexican-American War added vast new territories to the United States, reigniting the debate over slavery's expansion. The Compromise of 1850 admitted California as a free state, but also included the Fugitive Slave Act, which compelled Northerners to assist in the capture and return of runaway slaves. The Fugitive Slave Act further inflamed tensions between North and South. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed for popular sovereignty, meaning residents deciding whether to allow slavery in the territories, further exacerbated tensions. While political battles raged in the halls of Congress, a growing chorus of voices rose in opposition to slavery. Abolitionists, fueled by moral outrage, condemned slavery as a sin and a blight on the nation's soul. Frederick Douglass, a former enslaved man who escaped to freedom, became a powerful voice in the abolitionist movement. His eloquent speeches and writings exposed the horrors of slavery and challenged the conscience of the nation. Harriet Tubman, another escaped slave, risked her life repeatedly to guide hundreds of enslaved people to freedom along the Underground Railroad. Her courage and unwavering commitment to liberation made her an icon of the abolitionist movement. John Brown, a radical abolitionist, believed that armed insurrection was the only way to end slavery. In 1859, he led a raid on the Federal Armory at Harpers Ferry, Virginia, hoping to incite a slave uprising. The raid failed, and Brown was captured and executed. However, his actions sent shockwaves through the nation, further polarizing North and South. The abolitionist movement, though a minority in the early 19th century, played a crucial role in shifting public opinion. The 1860 presidential election proved to be a pivotal moment in American history. The nation, deeply divided over slavery and its expansion, faced a choice between candidates representing vastly different visions for the future. Abraham Lincoln, the Republican candidate, campaigned on a platform of preventing the expansion of slavery into the territories. Lincoln, a self-made man from humble beginnings, possessed a deep moral conviction that slavery was wrong. However, he also believed in preserving the Union. He sought to contain slavery, not to abolish it outright, hoping to prevent further division. The Democratic Party, fractured over the issue of slavery, split into two factions. Northern Democrats nominated Stephen Douglas, who supported popular sovereignty, while Southern Democrats nominated John Breckinridge, a staunch defender of slavery's expansion. Lincoln's victory, while decisive in the Electoral College, exposed the deep sectional divisions that plagued the nation. He carried the North but failed to win a single Southern state. Southerners viewed Lincoln's election as an existential threat, proof that they had lost their political voice in a government they no longer controlled. Fearful of Lincoln's intentions and the growing abolitionist sentiment in the North, Southern states began to make good on their threats of secession. South Carolina took the lead, voting to secede from the Union on December 20, 1860. 6 other Southern states followed suit in the coming weeks: Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. The secession of the Southern states did not immediately lead to war. For weeks, a tense standoff ensued. President Lincoln, in his inaugural address, pleaded for reconciliation, declaring that he had no intention of interfering with slavery where it already existed. However, he also vowed to hold, occupy, and possess all federal property. One such property was Fort Sumter, a federal installation located in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. The fort, strategically vital, was running low on supplies. Lincoln faced a dilemma: abandon the fort and risk emboldening the Confederacy, or resupply it and risk war. Lincoln chose to resupply Fort Sumter, viewing it as a peaceful assertion of federal authority. However, Confederate forces, perceiving this as an act of aggression, opened fire on the fort on April 12, 1861. After a 34-hour bombardment, the Union garrison surrendered. The attack on Fort Sumter galvanized the North. Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers to suppress the rebellion. 4 more Southern states, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina, seceded in response, joining the Confederacy. The early months of the Civil War revealed the stark realities of warfare and the miscalculations on both sides. The North, with its larger population and industrial might, vastly underestimated the South's resolve and military capabilities. The Confederacy, fighting on its own soil, enjoyed the initial advantage of strong military leadership and a fiercely determined population. Confederate soldiers, many of whom were skilled horsemen and marksmen, proved to be formidable opponents. The first major battle of the war, the First Battle of Bull Run, also known as First Manassas, took place on July 21, 1861, near Manassas Junction, Virginia. Confederate forces, led by General P.G.T. Beauregard, routed the Union Army, sending shockwaves through the North and shattering any illusions of a quick and decisive victory. The Union, under the leadership of General Winfield Scott, adopted a strategy known as the Anaconda Plan. This plan aimed to strangle the Confederacy by blockading its ports and seizing control of the Mississippi River, effectively splitting the South in two. The Confederacy pursued a defensive strategy, hoping to wear down the Union's will to fight and secure recognition from foreign powers. The South also hoped to win decisive victories on Northern soil, which they believed would turn public opinion against the war and force the Union to negotiate a peace settlement. The first 2 years of the war witnessed a series of bloody battles, often ending in stalemate. The Battle of Shiloh in April 1862, the 7 Days Battles from June to July 1862, and the Second Battle of Bull Run in August 1862 resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. The Battle of Antietam, fought on September 17, 1862, near Sharpsburg, Maryland, proved to be a pivotal turning point in the war. Confederate General Robert E. Lee, emboldened by recent victories, invaded Maryland, hoping to win a decisive victory on Northern soil and secure foreign recognition for the Confederacy. The battle, the bloodiest single day in American history, resulted in over 22,000 casualties. Although tactically a draw, Antietam was a strategic victory for the Union. Lee's invasion was halted and he was forced to retreat back into Virginia. More importantly, Antietam provided Lincoln with the opportunity he had been waiting for to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. On January 1, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a document that would forever change the course of the war and the destiny of a nation. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then, thenceforward, and forever free. The Emancipation Proclamation did not immediately free all enslaved people in the United States. It applied only to those enslaved in Confederate states still in rebellion, not to those in border states that had remained loyal to the Union. Nonetheless, it was a document of profound moral and strategic significance. The proclamation transformed the war from a struggle to preserve the Union into a fight for human freedom. Thousands of black men, eager to fight for their freedom and the freedom of their families, flocked to join the Union Army. The Emancipation Proclamation also dealt a severe blow to the Confederacy's hopes of securing foreign recognition. The American Civil War, a brutal and bloody conflict that claimed the lives of over 620,000 soldiers, left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche. It tested the very foundations of American democracy and forced the nation to confront its original sin, slavery. The war resulted in the abolition of slavery, the preservation of the Union, and the expansion of federal power. It also ushered in a new era of civil rights, as African Americans fought for and eventually won citizenship and the right to vote. The legacy of the Civil War continues to resonate today. The war, in the words of Abraham Lincoln, called upon the nation to experience a new birth of freedom, a call that still echoes through the generations.